It's comfortable, so it's.
Call the special council meeting November 29th to order. Janelle, please take the roll.
Councilmember Parker? Here. Councilmember Brown? Here. Councilmember Lowell? Here. Councilmember Michelson?
Here.
And Mayor Dixon.
Here, pledge allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, I'm just going to ask everybody to politely turn off any cell phones or electronic devices. Is there any public comment that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. With the council's permission, I would like, it's not on their guest, but I would like to do a brief introduction of my guest, if that's okay.
Sure.
This is the first time she's been here since I was sworn in. My son and his family and my two granddaughters are in Disneyland. And my daughter and my other grandson went back to Helena after Thanksgiving. So the person that's here is my wife, Debbie. Of 49 years, 54 years, my best friend. Debbie, you just want to stand up? Thank you.
Hey, David.
With that, we'll go to new business, discussion interview of mayor applicants. I'm going to go through the process here, which you all had sent to you some time ago. I'll go through the process, and then Bob will take candidates alphabetically. If you could just go in the other room. We'll have,
No.
you can stay here and process. It's up to you.
I think I know.
Okay, all right. So yeah, and then we'll go alphabetical. Okay, Janelle, we have a set number of questions, the attorney reviewed them. And of course, you will be able to ask any questions you want, but just remember, as protocol calls for, you have to ask both candidates the same question. We'll go, like I said, we'll go in alphabetical order. After that, after both interviews, I'll ask for a motion, and just keep in mind, even if there's a motion, you second it to make an appointment for someone, that's not the decision. But that would be good, then we could go to public comment after that. And then, you'll be able to ask whatever you want. So that's about it. So we'll start, well, we gotta get the questions.
There's one for each applicant.
We'll start with Mr. Butler, oh, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, before we get started, I would just like to advise the council and the mayor that I was contacted by one of the candidates for mayor on Monday afternoon. The candidate called my home and left a message that he'd like to talk to me regarding my view and direction town Stevensville should be headed. I returned the phone call. As he is a citizen of town, deserves a return call, as I would do for any citizen. Brief discussion ensured, and I informed them that the town of Stevensville was a weak mayor form of government, and that it was the council that has the power in the town. I refrained from any significant discussion with them because I did not want to jeopardize the upcoming interview process, which I will be participating as a member of the council, and he is an applicant. I disclose this to the council because I want no illusion as to anything other than a casual conversation, ensuring, and it was kept very brief. Additionally, I did send the mayor, Janelle, and the council president an email advising them of the content.
That's fine. First, I think anybody can, as a citizen, can ask anything. I'm sure Mr. Michelson has asked people to, so that's fine. With that, Mr. Butler, you want to come up? Sure. They have your application, Mr. Butler. You just want to state your full name.
My name is Howard Scott Butler.
Okay. Janelle, if you just want to, we have 5 questions, and again, as I said before, the council, you can ask questions to, you just have to ask both candidates the same question. With that, Janelle, you want to start with the first question?
I sure can. Number 1, what do you see as your role being as the mayor?
My role as the mayor is principally as presiding officer of the municipality. That includes the departments within Public Works, Police, Emergency Medical, etc. And I freely admit here before the council and the public that, yes, I did call Cindy Brown and I called Stacy Barker. Not as an attempt to persuade them to vote for me, but I was just curious as to what direction the town wanted to go in, what they view as some of the responsibilities of the mayor, how they saw the town going, and just as a general interest from a citizen. So I'll freely admit to that. I also view the mayor's position, and I agree it's a weak position, weak mayor system, with some limitations on his ability as far as budgeting, veto abilities. Mayor's position is also the public face of the community, if you will. Responsible for a lot of promotions, putting the town of Stevensville before the public, representing it as a fine place to live and a good place to raise a family. My vision of Stevensville, not to get sidetracked here, but is that. And I don't want to see us become a bedroom community of towns like Missoula and Hamilton, where it was an easy place to find a home, but their real business and occupation and entertainment goes to Missoula. I would like people to come to Stevensville to live here and proudly say, this is my town. I live here because I like it. I like the people, I like the community events that go on. An example of that is the Scarecrow Festival, which drew, I think, record events or record crowds this year. So my vision is that we form a community that becomes self-sustaining, not just simply a place where people look at the town as a place where they have a home temporarily and work and live and participate in Missoula or Hamilton.
Thank you. Janelle, second question.
Number 2, you will be responsible for the supervision of 5 people directly and approximately 10 others. How would you describe your management style?
It's easy to quote management style, and I think we all know it as hire good people and step back and let them do their job. Everybody in any management book will quote that as the ideal management philosophy. Of course it is. I've been in sales management before, and I know that's true. You hire good people and allow them to do their job freely and without much interference from you. Your job is to oversee. But the difficulty arises when people have egos that come into play. And when we assume that we're a manager, we automatically know more than everybody we're managing. I can assure you, I know very little about the Public Works Department. I've never been a chief of police. I would not attempt to assume I knew more about those positions than the current people do. So I think the thing with effective management is to recognize your limitations, but to oversee, but also to acknowledge that the people you're managing probably know more about their departments than you do, and give them credit for that, and not try to let your own ego interfere too much, and because you think things could be done better this way, when you probably don't have the experience to really know that much about those particular departments. So listen to the people that you're managing.
Janelle?
Number 3, who do you see as your employer?
My employer is the town of Stevensville, the citizens of this town. And if I'm chosen as mayor, and I view that as the responsibility of everybody on this council and in this office of the town hall, our responsibility is first and foremost to the town of Stevensville and the citizens we represent. We need to be responsible. We need to be accountable to those people. If I'm chosen as mayor, I will assure you, I will be reliably here. I will be responsible and accountable to those citizens.
Okay. Janelle?
Number 4, please elaborate on your educational experience and how that experience will support you as the mayor.
I have a bachelor's degree from Pittsburgh State University, Pittsburgh, Kansas. But some years ago, essentially a liberal arts major, but I've also taken a number of hours of accounting. I took 3 semesters of calculus, which if anybody's ever done calculus, you know that's very difficult. And I won't say I flew through those courses of math, but I did manage a decent grade in them. So my background educationally wise was diverse and allowed me to read up on a lot of different subjects and a lot of areas where I had an interest in. My business career was principally in sales, and that involved hours and hours of public contact. And I view that as important in this position because, as I said earlier, in a lot of ways, we are salespeople for the town. We need to be persuasive. We need to have empathy. We need to listen to people. I mean, good ideas come from all over. If I'm chosen as mayor, my door is open anytime, and anytime any citizen has any input or an idea that can help this town, I will listen to that person without my ego coming into play, because I know that good ideas come from a lot of places. We all think we're the smartest kid on the block, but as we get older, we discover that that's not the case. A lot of people smarter than us and a lot of people with very good ideas, and we need to make that door open to where those people feel comfortable coming in to express those ideas.
Janelle, last question that we have.
Last question that we have. What experience do you have with creating and maintaining a budget?
A budget? As I said, I've done a lot of accounting. In the service, I was also involved in finance and payroll and supply. I was responsible for a station over in Japan overseas for the finance and supply of that station. As an independent businessman, I also worked extensively within my own budget as what was possible, what was feasible. And again, I think that's an issue that's going to come up a lot with this town, is what is possible within the budgetary constraints that we have. A lot of things we would like to see, but it may not be possible to do because of fiscal consideration.
Okay, council, any questions you have? Councilmember Bart.
Let's see, I have a couple of them that I wanted to ask. First one is, some people in our community say that we have a traffic problem. What do you think, and how would you mitigate those concerns to change the situation?
I could agree, we do have a traffic problem. That's probably one of the understatements of the year. Anybody who's been out on Main Street here at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon knows we have a traffic problem. Mitigating that is not easy. I don't have a quick, ready answer for you. It's going to be an issue as the town continues to grow and develop. We're going to have to look into that and study it. I don't have a fast, easy answer for you on how to mitigate traffic at this point.
Okay. Councilmember Bart, you have another one?
I do have another one. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our town, how would you evaluate whether or not the project was worthy implementing?
I think we have to, obviously we have to look at the pros and cons of everything. What would be the benefit to that infrastructure? Can it pay for itself? Is it fiscally possible to do such an infrastructure as that? Is there alternative funding if we wanted to go ahead and build it? plus what would be the long-term cost. I mean, we may get the money to build it at some point, but there's an ongoing cost associated with all assets. And so we have to assume, do we have the money long-term to continue to pay for its upkeep and its maintenance? And overall, what is the overall benefit to the town?
Okay. Councilmember Brown?
I have 4 questions. If appointed as mayor, what would be the first thing you would do after being sworn in?
First thing I would do after being sworn in is to have a drink and demand a recount. I was just teasing. Hopefully I was just teasing. But I think one of the first things as mayor is I want to introduce myself to the public. I believe that a strong business community, a robust business community is necessary for a healthy town. You know, I spoke earlier about how we want to be a self-sufficient town and not have all of our citizens simply live here and do their shopping and their play elsewhere. The business community has their eyes and ears to the ground, probably more so than any of us, because they're dealing with the public every day. They know what the public wants, what we don't have, what can they do to attract more customers. And I see that as an introduction to myself to invite those people to offer suggestions, offer ideas about how we might have a more robust business community. And I think with that development comes development of the town, plus additional resources that allows us to do things like maybe that public infrastructure project you were talking about.
Councilmember Brown?
Are you familiar with the Montana Municipal Officials Handbook? And if not, are you willing to attend training seminars? And what are your thoughts regarding the council and employees attending training seminars?
I would certainly be in favor of attending seminars. I've long believed that the more educated a person is, the better his chances are. As far as the council, absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, we need new ideas. And if we close ourselves off and don't expose ourselves to other ideas, we'll just come up with the same set of ideas for age-old problems and perhaps not find a solution to them. So I think by exposing ourselves to a variety of ideas, different training, looking at different methods of doing things, we can benefit from that. So yes, I'm 100% in favor of that.
Tell me one word that sums up who you are professionally and or personally, and what do you stand for?
One word that's difficult, always been somewhat verbose. I think I spent I'll go back to the service. As I said, I spent 4 years in the United States Coast Guard. Coast Guard universal model worldwide is you have to go out, but you don't have to come back. That means do the job regardless of personal risk or the fact that you're sick or you don't feel good, you do the job. Be accountable. And if I'm chosen as mayor, I will simply be accountable and I'll be responsible.
Tell me one professional or personal accomplishment that you're proud of. What steps did you take to make this happen, and what did you learn?
After I left AT&T, I worked for AT&T for some years, and an opportunity arose at the time with the breakup of AT&T and the divestiture of the telecommunications industry, where an individual could start their own business. I'd always wanted to do that. And so I did, selling and installing and maintaining PBX systems, phone systems, business phone systems. Acquired some partners along the way, and we worked at that for 15 or 20 years, I would suppose, and we're successful at it. I learned so much in that sense that it's more difficult than you think it's going to be, and that there's a lot you don't know, but there's a lot of other people out there who can help you, who do have knowledge and can help you. And if you're open and unpretentious, people are willing to share their knowledge and willing to help you. And I think we especially in the public forum, we need that. We don't want people to feel like, well, I'm not really welcome in that door. I mean, we need to have a welcoming institution, as I mentioned earlier, where anybody can come in and feel like they've got an idea they want to express about what might help us out in bettering Stevensville. My sole goal would be what can help Stevensville, what betters our town. I like to say my town, and I like everybody in the community to say, I live in Stevensville, my town.
Thank you. Councilmember.
I just have a simple question. How do you see your daily routine if appointed mayor?
I see my daily routine in the office. It's probably not a full-time position, but as I've said, I think the need to go out and introduce ourselves to the public, to get ideas from the public. I'll spend a lot of time in public relations. We need to build more events to build community participation in the town. People are participating in the town, such as I mentioned, the Scarecrow Festival. That came from an outside source. That came from a member of the community. And it's been a great idea. And it brought a lot of people into the town to enjoy themselves. And if we do things like that, if we think of events we can sponsor, ways to bring citizens into the town, get them involved in the town, then we begin to build that sense of community, that sense of pride in the town, where people are not just saying, oh, I happen to live in Stevensville for now. But they're saying, I live there because I want to live there. It's my town.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. You can stay since you've already interviewed. I'll give Hank. Okay, Bob, we have 5 sets of set questions, and then the council can ask you questions that they've asked the last candidate. So Janelle will read the 5 questions. Go ahead, Janelle.
The first question, what do you see as your role being as the mayor?
My role as a mayor would be as outlined under our town ordinance, which is basically run the staff, manage the budget, run the meetings for the council, make recommendations to the council, bring anybody before the council to be approved for appointment, whether it's staff members, department heads, part-time employees, they would be under my purview. But other than that, everything would go through the council. We work under a weak mayoral system, which requires the council basically has the power.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2, you'll be responsible for the supervision of 5 people directly and approximately 10 others. How would you describe your management style?
I think my management style would be pretty good, although I haven't did it in a few years. When I was a welder on the railroad, I managed 27 employees at one time. Of course, that was a different environment, different world. But I did have that administrative, where I did the books, did the time, did the payroll, did all that stuff at the time.
Okay. Janelle?
Number 3, who do you see as your employer?
The town of Stevensville, the taxpayers, they are the ones that hold all the cards at the end of the day. I would answer to them and the council.
Okay. Janelle?
Please elaborate on your educational experience and how that experience will support you as the mayor.
I started on the council in 2016. At the time, the mayor at that time was Paul Ludington. He lasted about 6 months and then Jim Cruz took his spot. Mayor Dewey beat Jim Cruz, and he served 4 years, and then Steve. So I have worked with 4 different mayors in my 8 years of service on the council. I believe that would help me going forward, as I have worked with mayors, I've worked with various members of the council, I've worked with staff, and I think that would be a bonus to me.
Okay,
And the final question, what experience do you have with creating and maintaining a budget?
8 years of experience. My first 2 years were kind of out there as it was a learning process, but as time went on, I think I got pretty good with it. I was able to navigate, and this year, of course, I think I did pretty well during the budget meetings.
okay. Councilmember Parker? You had a couple.
I did, 10 questions that I asked Mr. Butler. Some people in our community say that we have a traffic problem. What do you think? How would you mitigate those concerns and change the situation?
Traffic issues are not gonna get any better anytime soon in Stevensville. As our county grows and people come here, as a lot of people know, I walk here every day out on the path and I see the traffic, it's just unbelievable. And there's a clog on Second, and as a council and as a mayor, we've sent letters to the state to address that, they're gonna come and do a review. It's not only there, it's out there on Logan, and East Side Highway, that needs to be addressed. And out here by the pharmacy on the Mormon Church, that's a boondoggle. And I wish I had an answer, I really do, but we all have to work together to do that. It's not a one-time fix for one person.
My last question is, if someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our town, how would you evaluate whether or not the project was worth implementing?
My first thing would be to bring it before the council. I wouldn't make a decision, I might talk to them about it and maybe give them some input, but I would have to go through the council before anything even brought up, anything being done.
Okay, Councilmember Brown?
If you're appointed as mayor, what would be your first thing you would do after being sworn in?
I would sit back and observe for a little while. The staff here, they all know what they're doing. They know their jobs. And I would sit back and observe a while and go from there. I'm not gonna make any wholesale changes if I was put in there. I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. I would like to continue doing what Steve and all of us have did the last 2 years, which is fix the leaks, 15 million gallons of water going into the ground. Get some street work done on Spring and out there on Railway. And that stuff, this infrastructure is big. It's been lackadaisical in this town for so long. It's been put on the back burners. All other stuff has got done. And we need to take care of that. That should be a priority. It has to be a priority moving forward.
Okay,
Are you familiar with the Montana Municipal Officials Handbook? If not, are you willing to attend training seminars? What are your thoughts regarding the council and/or employees attending training seminars?
I am familiar with the handbook. I have attended most of all the municipal trainings that have been brought forward, except for COVID. I did go this last year. I would recommend anybody, whether new council members, staff, it is so important. I can't stress how much that when people get together and they share their ideas, how much we can move forward as a team. Because doing it online is okay, but when you're there in person and you're getting other people's input that are at these meetings, whether they're clerks, finance officers, council members, mayors, that's where it all comes together. Because that's where ideas are shared. We can share the ideas here. When you're out there and you get ideas from other people, that's really a plus.
Tell me one word that sums up who you are professionally or personal And what do you stand for?
I stand for the truth. I try to. I can be joking me, I can be kidding me once in a while, but at the end of the day, I try to be as honest as I can to everybody.
Tell me one professional or personal accomplishment that you're proud of. What steps did you take to make this happen? What did you learn?
I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 37 years sobriety. I'm more proud of that than anything. I can't tell you how proud I am every day. Waking up sober and clean. That means so much to me. And everything else, it's just water out the back.
Okay. Councilmember Lowe?
I just have one, Bob, and it's, how do you see your daily routine if appointed mayor?
My life would definitely change. I would have to spend much more time here than when I was as a council member, which was 0 or nil, because that wasn't my duty, of course. And I will spend as much time as I need to do to keep the town running the way it is. And I'll do what it has to do. Every time I've stepped up to be a council member, I think I've served that very well.
Okay, thank you, Bob. You can just have a chair there. So with that, as I talked before, we could get a motion with a recommendation and hopefully a second, but again, as you know, what happens many times with the council, just to make a motion and a second, that's not the decision. But then that would allow us to involve the public for public comment on either candidate. So with that, I just throw it out there. Councilmember Brown.
I move that we appoint Bob Michelson as mayor.
Okay, is there a second? Councilmember Parker.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, with that, we'll go to public comment. Just come up, state your name, where you live, who's your daddy. But anyway, just come up. You can talk about either candidate, support, concerns, whatever. If there's any public comment at this time, please feel forward. Please feel free to come forward. Is there any? Go. Just state your name.
William Rowe, actually reside in Hamilton, but I have 2 businesses in Stevensville. To start with this, I am the airport manager, but I'm not here as the airport manager. I'm here as a business owner in Stevensville. I started this first process to get the first business going 1 year and 4 months ago. And I was religiously coming to town council meetings, airport board meetings, got involved with the town. And that in turn became a second business. Years ago, I lived in Stevensville for quite a while, but with housing, affordability, what I could afford, that brought me to Hamilton. Stevensville was my home when I first got here in the valley over 20 years ago. It's where I choose to have my businesses. Throughout that 1 year and 4 months, coming to council meetings, you see a lot of things. You experience some stuff with council members of the town. There really isn't an easy way to put this. I have concerns with Bob Michelson taking the mayor's position because of his demonstrated past. I'm involved with the town and the employees of this town. He has demonstrated years ago that he has a history because there was a lawsuit that was settled of harassment. We don't know where that is going to go. What's the town financially going to do if that happens again? Because he's in that office. And we can go through the numbers. They were in the article. It's $85,000 settlement, and then it cost the town $93,000 in legal fees. The insurance went from $23,000 fiscally to 73 because of this. Things that I've seen being involved with the town can't afford another instance like that. Just can't. It's already too tight. You know, we know Councilmember Michelson because he's on the council. So there is comfort there. As a business owner, I look at that when I have people that come into a business, someone I know versus someone I don't know. But a lot of times you have better luck moving forward with progress, with that breath of fresh air of someone you don't know. I've had conversations with Mr. Butler. I know him from in town. He's very easy to work with. He's very open. And quite honestly, I think he is the best candidate for that position. I am really concerned having businesses here and being part of this town of what will happen. What if there is another instance of harassment? What is that maybe offhand thing going to do again to this office? What kind of hostility is that going to create? You know, I'm not up here to drag anyone through the mud or play favorites, but it's just what I see from the outside looking in. That past really needs to be taken into consideration for who takes over Mayor Gibson's seat. It's an important thing to consider.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Any other public comment? Just come up and state your name.
Mark Adams, 610 East 2nd Street. And I can understand the former participants' concerns about Bob, but I think I've known Bob since before he was on the council, and I've also known Mr. Butler. I used to live just right next door to him. And I would not recommend Mr. Butler for this position because of the personal problems that he seems to have. And I won't drag him through the mud. I won't present all of his personal problems in public. But Mr. Michelson has told the public that he's a recovering alcoholic for 30 plus years. And that to me means something. And I do understand this other person's concerns. I was very concerned at the time. However, there's more to that story than meets the eye. And again, I won't discuss other people's business. But I think the council would be wise to consider Mr. Michelson and not Mr. Butler. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? See none. Further discussion by the council. We have a motion and a second to appoint Bob Michelson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Janelle, Councilmember Parker.
I don't know much about Mr. Butler. I have sat on council with Mr. Michelson for quite some time. It is a hard decision to make. Everybody grows from what their mistakes are. I was on the council at the time that these lawsuits were brought forward. I was also a part of that lawsuit at the time. So, and I've seen connections change. Again, I wish I knew more about Mr. Butler, but I do not. But I just feel that everybody should know that there's more to what happened at that time. And I think there is change, and I think everybody can change. We always look in the past, we need to look in the future. So.
Okay, any other discussion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you both for putting your names into the hat. I appreciate that. And once again, we don't know a whole lot about Mr. Butler. Not to say he isn't qualified to, he is definitely qualified. Right now, it's, to me, the difference is we have one candidate who is versed in the council rules, the Montana code, the budget procedure. One person who would bringing new ideas in and is very good with the public eye
Okay.
and public relations.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, now we have a motion and a second to appoint Bob Michelson. Please take the vote.
Councilmember Barker,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown,
Aye.
and Councilmember Lowell.
I think I'm going to abstain since I'm not going to be here.
Okay, so we have 2 yeses and abstain. So Councilmember Michelson has been appointed to be the next mayor. With that, Mr. Michelson, you can come back up. You will need to submit a letter of resignation by 5 p.m. tomorrow on your council seat, so you can be sworn in Friday at 9. It's in the things that we handed out. So you'll just have to submit that by 5 p.m. We've talked to the judge. Janelle will contact her by email. So the swearing in will be Friday, December 1st at 9 o'clock here.
Friday?
Friday, December 1st, 9 o'clock. With that, I'm going to go not to an executive report. I'm going to go to a, whatever you want to call it. Mayor, goodbye. And as you know, I usually don't read anything, and I usually don't say a lot. But tonight, I'm going to read so I don't forget anything. I put this together this afternoon. The only person that saw it was my wife. So with that, it has been an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to have worked for the people of Stevensville the last 2 years. The first day I started there was no finance officer, no human resource officer, no utility building clerk, park supervisor. Audits were 3 years behind, and we were being fined. Information was missing, an inherited budget that was bloated and underfunded. We've done pretty well with the budget. Despite inflation, we did not raise water and sewer fees. We did not raise business license fees or building permit fees, as many others have done. We actually reduced taxes for some lighting districts from 3 years ago, as you all are aware. Today, the budget is in pretty good shape. Through the work of many people, through the cost savings and efficiencies that have been put into place the last 2 years, along with eliminating unneeded contracts totaling over $140,000. Next year, you should be able to consider larger raises, especially for the police, in relationship to recruitment and retention. I would also like to ask you to consider a 20-year retirement system for the police in relationship to retention. As we've all talked about around everywhere, that's what it is, and ours is 30 years. And in previous times, I was told that it was going to be really expensive. It's not. I would just ask you to consider that. Also, there needs to be more money for equipment upgrades, such as the fire department. I mean, we didn't have the money this time. There was no capital money. That needs to happen. Bids have gone out for fixing leaks, as Mr. Michelson said, through the ARPA grant, which totals $1.8 million. Bids have gone out for street repair. Railroad, Spring, There's a couple others in there that probably have to be eliminated because there might not be enough money. We have approximately $400,000 for those streets. We're closer than ever retaining the water rights. It was kind of disappointing. We had the best representation we could ever have was Ross Miller. We got rid of all the objectors and the court overruled us. We've already started the process, and Bob, that'll be one of the first things we need to talk about. I've left all the emails in there. We're really close. It's a different route. Could be less than a year, but we thought it would be that way last time. It goes back to the oldest water rights in the state, Stevensville, Montana. So we're working through DRC. We've had a meeting. Mr. Overstreet was involved in one of those meetings. They were very cooperative and very supportive. There was another email today that looks like, again, we're farther along. This was neglected for years and years and years, and it's unexcusable. What we paid to Mr. Miller, who has donated some of his time, can you imagine if this would have been done when it should have been done? Starting back in 1984, starting back in 1975. And the previous administrations have dropped the ball. They were close. They had an attorney. He died. They got another attorney. He died. And everybody dropped the ball. As I always say to Ross Miller, how's your health, buddy?
Don't drink the water.
Talked about traffic safety. We've improved traffic safety and are closer to these signs on Main, as you are aware. So you need to continue to follow through with Montana Department of Transportation. A lot of people don't understand. I wish we could. I wish we could put those stop signs up on Main ourselves, but we can't. We updated the personnel policy to follow state and federal laws, and we developed subdivision regulations. Mr. Michelson was involved in that, planning and zoning. With that in mind, I would like to thank the staff for their dedication and hard work, the police, and the volunteer fire department, firefighters, and EMTs. I would also like to thank Pam and Max Sosa, who are no longer here, for their past dedication and support. Thank you, Town Attorney Greg Overstreet. Your commitment and your excellent work is beyond belief. This town is so lucky to have Mr. Overstreet representing this town as their attorney. Thank you, Airport Manager Will, who has done more in the last 3 months, and I think you would know that, Councilmember Brown, than was done in the previous 2 years. I would like to thank the majority of the community who supported me from day one, and of course, along with my wife and family. I especially want to thank Janelle. Without her in the beginning of my term, I don't think I would have survived. And the town would have been in dire straits. More needs to be done. Growth policy, water and sewer capacity, infrastructure, capital improvements. For the new mayor, and I think you do, I feel it's important to remember who your employer is. And that is all the taxpayers of Stevensville. And not just a few special interests or 2 or 3 people to demand special attention. I encourage all people. I wish there would have been more people here tonight. I encourage all people to take part in the public process, express your concerns, ideas, and hold your elected and appointed officials accountable. Finally, to the new mayor, if you wish, feel free to contact me at any time during your transition, something that I did not experience. Thank you. Councilman Mike.
I know it's not council comments, but I would like to personally thank outgoing Mayor Steve Gibson for his dedication. I knew Steve before he was even on the council. I'll never forget the first time I met him was over at Tadvik's. We had all gotten together there. I think you were there, Stacy, and we started telling him about the concerns at that time that the mayor that Steve replaced was going on. And he couldn't believe it. Steve just shook his head and said, no, no, no. And he got on the council and it changed. But it still took a lot of coaxing to get Steve to run for mayor. He did not want to do it. His wife didn't want him to do it. I think at the time his heart was there. He wanted to just retire and move on and spend time with his grandkids. But he stepped up. He stepped up and he did the job. And it's sad that he's got some health issues that he has to leave. I didn't want to take this job because I wanted him to stay another 2 years. That's why I put him for another 4 years to help move this town along. But things change. And with that, I want to thank you again, Steve, and I will be contacting you all the time for guidance and support.
Councilmember Rowley.
I just think you've done a wonderful job bringing the town together. You stepped into a mess and you cleaned it up. And I think we're on the right road right now and onward.
Thank you.
And I've enjoyed being on the council, working with you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
I would like to say thank you also. I do believe you were with the right person at the time for the taking over the transition. And I appreciate all the work you have done with the staff and everyone else. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Councilmember Barton.
I would just like to say thank you. I know I'm a tough cookie to work with sometimes. I can be very, very harsh. But you came in with an agenda to do things and you did that. And you proved to the people that you did the job that you said you were gonna do. You ran on that and you completed that. Not all the way, but you completed what you said you were gonna do. And I appreciate that. And I will miss working with you. And I wish
Thank
you
you.
the best.
Thank you. I am adjourned.
You definitely were salesman.
Did that for a lot of years.